Welcome back. Lots of important conversations taking place at the World Economic Forum at Davos. And this is Shireen Bhan in conversation with Fatih Birol, ED at International Energy Agency.
Losing the energy war, at least it looks like that for the time being. And Russia was the largest energy exporter of the world as of 24th of February. Right. And if the things go like this, Russia's role in the global energy scene will be much more diminished.
You know, since you believe that Russia is losing the energy battle and that perhaps pushes them into a corner on the back of the sanctions that have been imposed by large parts of the world, do you then fear that there will be a further escalation between Russia and Ukraine, which is what the Russian side seems to indicate, especially over the last 24 to 48 hours? Or do you believe that this will now push Russia to adopt a different strategy because it is hurting them?
I really don't know how the battlefield issues will evolve, but I really hope that sooner rather than later there will be a peaceful solution, which will be good news for Ukrainians and also for Russians and for all of us. It's my hope.
Yes, that is everybody's hope. But you know, one of the other myths that you debunked was that the energy crisis that we are currently in the midst of will set us back on the climate transition. You don't believe that to be the case. You believe that global CEOs, policymakers at this point in time are doubling down and renewing efforts to make the transition.
Exactly. It is also it's good that you remind me these things, because again the numbers we have last week from all energy sector do confirm. For example, 2022, the growth in renewables was highest in the history, 25% to growth from one year to another. Big growth in renewables. In terms of the electric car sales, we have never seen such a strong electric car sales around the world. Efficiency improvements, huge. Heat pumps, huge growth, and many countries are making a comeback for nuclear power. So a lot of clean energy sources are moving very strongly to the energy markets, because it is not only driven by the climate concerns but also energy security concerns. People want to build their own homegrown energies. So what we are seeing is that the current global energy crisis, in fact, accelerates the clean energy transitions. And when I look at the numbers in India, they are just very, very exciting in terms of solar, in terms of wind, in terms of hydrogen and others. India is doing an excellent job there.
You know, so let's focus on India, because you said that the numbers in India look exciting. What is exciting you about the numbers in India, especially on the renewable side?
It is because it is growing much more stronger than many people expect. Even the most optimistic people about the Indian renewable capacity expansion, it is much stronger than that. And India not only pushes, especially the solar, so strongly, but also looks at the manufacturing side. For example, the batteries. There's a lot of incentives for building batteries at home, and also solar panels. Now, one issue we have to all understand, that the world is going through a clean energy transition, but energy transition means industry transition. The clean energy technology manufacturing today there is one country which dominates the entire game. 75% of all electric car batteries, 90% of all solar panels, 75% of all wind mills, so and so and so, are manufactured in one single country, China. So this is also, on one hand, I appreciate China's leading role here, but to rely on one single country, whoever this country is in the energy world, in my view, is a risky business. You shouldn't rely on one country, one company, one trade route. You have to have diversification. Therefore, India's steps in order to give a boost to its own domestic clean energy technology manufacturing is also welcome.
You brought up some of the aspects that excite you about India. Let me ask you about green hydrogen, because there is a big plan that the government has unveiled to try and push green hydrogen. The government's aspiration is that India be the leader as far as green hydrogen is concerned. What do you make of that?
I think when I look at the numbers in terms of the cost of green hydrogen in India vis-a-vis some other countries, very, very promising. And this strategy may well work. We just need to see it is implemented quickly, so that India gets a pole position in the green hydrogen sphere.
since you are excited about what's happening on the transition roadmap at this point in time, in terms of financing, in terms of investments required for us to be able to accelerate further, what is the expectation, what is the estimate at this point in time?
So it is, to simplify the thing, when I look at the clean energy investment trends, it looks like the 2030, which is a milestone for our climate change issues, the world will have about $2 trillion clean energy investments. In order to be in line with our Paris goals, this 2 trillion needs to double, 4 trillion. So there is enough capital in the world, but whether or not the capital will meet the clean energy projects, especially in the developing countries, is a key issue. So if you ask me what are the challenges to reach our climate goals, I can give you 100 things. But if you ask me to choose one of them, financing clean energy transition in developing countries. And here there is a role and responsibility of the rich countries, advanced countries, to support this transition. The responsibility is because the problem we have today, the climate change, is the concentration of carbon in the atmosphere since 100 years, and the share of advanced economies is more than 80%. Only 20% is the rest. So there is a moral responsibility, historic responsibility. Plus they have the means to support the countries who need to accelerate the clean energy financing. So I believe if we go from 2 trillion to 4 trillion, we have all the chances to meet our climate goals. And I see some of the numbers in renewables, electric cars, hydrogen, they are really encouraging.
Well, that's good to hear. But what do you make of the loss and damage agreement that's finally been worked upon? And of course, now execution is going to be key.
The idea is excellent. The framing and agreeing in Sharm el-Sheikh is wonderful, but to say that it's a done deal, I think it is too early. I would like to see the details, who's going to pay, how much and when, and then if they are going to deliver. So before being so happy, I want to wait and see the next steps.
Absolutely. I think it would be premature to hold this out as a victory just yet. But let me end by asking you, Fatih Birol, on the back of everything that you know, and there could be many known unknowns and many unknown unknowns that the world faces. But at this point in time, how hopeful do you feel that perhaps the worst is behind us, both on the energy crisis and the inflation crisis?
I wish I could tell you that the worst is behind us, but I unfortunately see that the geopolitics and energy is so interwoven that I have never seen in my life. I had one of my usual Davos sessions yesterday, an energy session. I think it's my 14 or 15 years in a row. I have never seen so many prime ministers, so many politicians who have never been in an energy session. And I told them, it is on one hand, it's welcome, but on the other hand, I wish energy was a business and free of political circumstances. And unfortunately, I think I have all the reason to be a bit less optimistic that this year we may see geopolitics and energy will be more and more interwoven, and in general it is not a good news.
No, it isn't good news, but of course you have a packed audience there listening to you, and a packed audience on CNBC watching you as well. Fatih Birol, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here on CNBC-TV18.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's the big view as far as the energy market is concerned. Not too optimistic Fatih Birol there joining us here in Davos. We're going to take a break. A lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a moment.
Ako följer sig